scramblers in this. Yee!
Hey, big 2-4, stop playing. Hey, boy. Hey, Houston gangster, stop playing.
Anderson, if we help him like the moments 4 times, yes, let's get it.
So let's alternate. You stay here. You got one person. Here you go. Yeah, one at a time. Here you go. 12. Just one guy at a time.
On two. Down. Blue 20. Blue 20. Say go.
Good. There you go. Nice and easy. We're going to take it off. All right, now.
I don't want you guys guessing. I want you to imprint the technique. All right? So you're working on outside release. You know his release. You know which hand. You know which foot you're moving with.
All right, so look.
Okay?
Hey, 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
Ready.
That's that butter.
Something about a championship team, and it starts right here. Look at the quarterback, man. Look at my butt. He don't like the camera that much, but, you know, and then it starts with a good tackle, man. You know, if he ain't protecting, who will? You know? But y'all boys stay tuned, man. Philadelphia Stars, J Mo checking out.
Let's get 8 minutes on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Second day of practice.
All right, look. Hey, day 2 of practice. It was a great day. Look at the weather. The sun is out. From sunny California. Let's get it, baby.
You already know what it is.
You know what I'm saying? Big J.
Let's go.
Hey, you finna get this money this year.
What is up, my friends, and welcome to the fourth. I have to change my notes. The fourth. We'll do this till I don't know when. The fourth edition of the USFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of USFL News Hub. And on this week's show, the USFL rules are finally released. We have a full recap of that. You just saw sights and sounds from training camp. That's underway. Things seem to be moving well. The USFL, we also have USFL fantasy rankings from our own Matt Lyons, plus some updates on USFL, on News Hub Fantasy. That's where you get to play fantasy football. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show as well. So remember, if you like football, smash that like button. As someone told me in our last show on the XFL Week in Review, Will Smith, that like button, smash that like button, smack that like button. I know, whatever. And like and subscribe to this channel. We are going to be with things. This channel is going to blow up so big by the 16th. We're super excited about that. I'll just put that. We'll smash that like button. Let's get this video to 30 likes, shall we? All right. If you want to be part of the show, email podcast@USFL News Hub with your thoughts, or record an MP3 or a video on your phone, and we'll play it on next week's show. You can leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3. We have those on this show. Podcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Audible Player FM, Spotify, Google Podcasts, but definitely leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I need to change that image. I said that last time. And watch USFL Week in Review live at 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Yes, finally, after some trial and error, we've got at the stream to now stream on Facebook, so we're good there. And of course, the USFL timeline, March 22nd, the USFL training camp begun. We just heard at the beginning of the show some sights and sounds from that event. April 16th, Fox, NBC, huge ratings bonanza. USFL season begins. New Jersey Generals, Birmingham Stallions. We are only 19 days away from USFL kickoff. What is up, my friends? Super excited to be with you on this show. I'm rocking my Tampa Bay Bandits hat. You saw that video, Jordan Ta'amu. Some people think that he's probably could be the best player in the USFL. We'll have to find out as the season rolls on. We have some news, potentially a Team 9 XFL thing going on. Exclusive details about that from your boys at USFL News Hub. Plus, we have the USFL fantasy football rankings. And we'll talk about News Hub Fantasy, where you can actually play fantasy football. We're keeping it on the down low because it's like this is like a real trial by fire, getting things going. It's still a buggy system, but the draft system engine seems to be working. We should be getting some drafts starting on the 31st and rolling on. We have questions about that we'll get to in the social media aspect of the show, and so much more. So excited for you are on hanging out with us. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, get that notification so it'll remind you at 9 o'clock time to just kind of kick back and talk a little USFL as the week rolls on, because we are getting closer and closer. 19 days till kickoff. Remember, Reed on the XFL, the Markcast, will be having a live show from Birmingham. So definitely want to check out for details that he's been teasing who's going to be on the show. It's going to be a great show. Maybe you'll see some wink, 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 some of your friends on that show as well. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the USFL. All right.
In the USFL, overtime will be like you've never seen before. It's a best-of-3 shootout. We'll line up at the 2 and alternate possessions between the teams. If we're still tied after 3 possessions, then it's sudden death until we have a winner. This is the USFL. In the USFL, you have another option on top of the onside kick. We're going to give you a scrimmage play, 4th and 12 from the 33-yard line. If you make a first down, you keep the ball. If you don't, you're going to give the ball back to the defense. And if you're sacked, they may get the ball all the way down at the 10-yard line. A lot of risk, but a lot of reward. This is the USFL. In the USFL, offenses will have more options than ever. Why? Because they can throw 2 forward passes behind the line of scrimmage. This will open up the playbook like never before. Imagine quarterback throwing the ball forward to a wide receiver, back to the quarterback who advances for a touchdown. Imagine the possibilities. This is the USFL. In the USFL, when you score a touchdown, you've got 3.
All right. So we have the USFL rules. We were just disconnected there for a second. So the USFL rules were released. The rule books were released. Football, they say, traditional football with a modern twist. So rules will keep fans engaged by adding offense and getting calls right. So on March 23rd, the USFL, of course, announced their rules. Most of the rules that govern USFL games in the spring are traditional, standard, familiar to fans of today's professional and college games. However, the league is instituting some changes to bolster offense and big play potential, improve game flow, give trailing teams more scoring opportunities as time winds down, enhance player safety, and get officiating calls right in a way that's fair for both teams. Mike Pereira quote there. Through the social media channel, the league revealed several USFL. Of course, we saw the videos there. Summary of the USFL rules. Of course, you heard the extra point. Scoring teams have 3 options to attempt extra points. Teams will receive 1 point for a successful kick between the uprights, snapped at the 15, 2 points, just like the NFL, and 3 points, a la kind of the XFL, sort of, from the 10-yard line scrimmage play. So teams trailing by 9 points or less have the opportunity to close that gap. The reason, late game excitement by improving chances for comeback. Remember, the USFL, part of their deal about 3-down football is to give teams, and we saw it last year in CFL games, gave teams a chance to actually come back at the end, and we did see some exciting games from the CFL. So they're trying to play that same business model. Instant replay, USFL Replay Command Center at Fox Sports Control Center in Los Angeles will make all the replay decisions. One replay crew will make all the decisions. There's only one game going on versus 32, makes it a lot easier. They want to achieve accuracy, consistency, and faster rulings. The reason, improve game flow. So the command center will have the authority to overrule incorrect personal foul calls, including roughing the passer, hits on defenseless players, face masks, horse collars, and more. The USFL replay command will also be responsible for determining whether the act of pass interference is obviously intentional when it occurs 15 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, something Mike Pereira has talked about in the past. Clearly, pulling a guy down 100%, knowing that you're going to get a safe play, that's kind of where that comes then. So they want to correct obvious missed calls from officiating stuff. So to get the call right, and that's at the bottom line. I've always said, if I'm Major League Baseball, I'm getting AI to do balls and strikes. Who cares about the umpires? Just get the call right. Is it a strike? Is it a ball? And it should be consistent. One of the many annoying things about baseball. Kickoffs. All kickoffs will be from the 25-yard line. No kicking team member may line up any further back than 1 yard, while the receiving team must have a minimum of 8 players in the set-up zone between their 35 and 45-yard lines. After a kickoff travels 20 yards, the first touch must be by the receiving team, and an untouched kick becomes dead. The ball belongs to the receiving team at the spot. Effect: create more, yet safer kickoff returns, increase big play potential with more return kickoffs rather than touchbacks, a la the NFL. Online side kick versus scrimmage play. This one was interesting. Teams will have 2 options to retain possessions of the ball after scoring. The first option will be traditional onside kick attempts from the 25-yard line. The second will be running a 4th down and 12 play from their own 33-yard line. If the team gets a first down, it retains possession. If it fails, then the defense gets the ball. Create an alternate way of trailing teams to keep the ball scoring. This is kind of interesting. 4th down and 12 play from their 33-yard line. We'll see how this one actually plays out. I mean, if I am a team, I am doing this scrimmage play versus an onside kick all day long. Successfully executing and recovering onside kick is rare, so this provides another option while increasing risk-reward strategies for coaches. My question is, okay, so you get the play, 4th and 12 play from their own 33-yard line. That puts you at the 50-yard line, and then you get the ball at the 50-yard line, or do you get the ball at like the 25-yard line? Like, how does that work? But they kind of explained that there. Overtime rules. This will be similar to the XFL. Overtime will be the best of 3 play shootout. Each team successful will alternate plays against opposing defense on the 2-yard line. Each successful scoring attempt will receive 2 points. The team with the most points after 3 plays wins. The subsequent attempts become sudden death if the score is tied. After each team runs 3 plays, the overtime period will extend until a winner is declared. So there's no tie games, which is nice. And definitely a lot of fans do not, including myself, do not like the NFL's overtime rule. Both teams will have equal chance of winning, as it should be. Create more excitement and fairness. The designed shootout overtime, that's something from the XFL. Punts, gunners may not line up outside the numbers. Fewer injuries, enhanced player safety and game flow. Timing. The clock will stop for first downs inside of 2 minutes of the second and fourth quarters. More offensive plays during the final 2 minutes of each half. Add offensive excitement for before at end of halftime at the end of the game. Penalties, defensive pass interference, offensive pass interference. They talk about those, trying to clean those up. 2 forward passes, just like in the XFL. We heard them talk about that. That really was only used once, I believe. And there are your rules for the USFL. Let us know in the comments. Do you like the USFL rule book? You think it's too gimmicky? I think they got pretty much everything right. I'm not really sure about this onside kick kind of thing and how that all works. Fourth and that piece of the puzzle. But overall, I think this rule book is good. And this is what's nice about these spring football leagues, whether it's the USFL, XFL, fan control football, even though they're completely different for the most part. But just giving these leagues a chance to try play around with something different than the traditional NFL rules and see what works. And this is the way to differentiate your league from the others. So let us know what you think in the comments about the USFL's new rule book. Is the USFL going to have a Team 9? It looks like they will. This is from our own Patrick Ruffino. Somewhat breaking news, a little bit back and forth between several players and prospective USFL players. It appears that Jim Popp, the USFL Director of Player Administration, is beginning to reach out to players and is making a short list for USFL teams. Remember, Jim Popp was named as the Director of Player Administration for the USFL, had a lot of ties in the CFL game, very respected guy. With the USFL supplemental draft being completed on March 10th and 7 of the 8 teams having 45 players on their roster, USFL teams still have about 3 weeks to trim the rosters down to 38 active players and 7 on their practice squads before opening kickoff on April 16th. So far, throughout the first couple days of the tramp, of course, we've had heard of no injuries or transactions being reported, no trades, any of that kind of thing. But no matter what injuries are part of the game and every level continue to be something coaches have to adjust for. Ironically, the XFL's Team 9 And the USFL has a mutual connections. Bart Andrus, current coach of the Philadelphia Stars, was the, quote, head coach of Team 9 of the XFL in 2020. So, with the USFL adopting many rules and regulations from other leagues, why not add in more similarity? So, quote, in every football league, there is a constant churn, and every one of these rosters is going to change by the time week 1 rolls around. They'll bring in new guys, and someone pulls a hamstring. It's inevitable. This is what Oliver Luck said, the former commissioner of the XFL. So, as stated by Luck, talks the wear and tear of the football season is constant churn. And even though the USFLs do have 45 total players, it's only a matter of time before the additional players might be needed. However, it seems that Jim Pop is already being proactive, and that process is starting his short list. So basically, his reporting is that he's been reaching out to players and seeing if they could be on this kind of short list, Team 9, whether they play those list. Well, no details about this Team 9. So with kickoff less than 30 days and a plethora of QBs available with spring league experience, it's not out of the realm that the USFL might have some recognizable names as stand-ins. Perhaps guys like Luis Perez, Brandon Silvers, Chase Litton are still quote-unquote free agents. It would definitely behoove the league to have capable players waiting to go. Teams only took 2 quarterbacks. We never know what was happened, so we'll have to stay tuned. If the USFL brings on a Team 9, who could be some of the players that they bring along? We'll just have to wait and find out. So this past weekend, the USFL had their youth clinic. Darryl Johnson was on local radio today talking about that. Teams going for 3 and some more. He was on the McElroy and Kubik in the morning show in Birmingham. He talked about, they talked with Darryl Johnston, is the executive vice president of football operations for the USFL. They talked about this past weekend's youth clinic, something that we were advertising on our show, and how did it go? So basically, he said that this was kind of a Brian Woods idea, insisting that they had these youth clinics to build structure, to make sure it was built into the calendar and connecting and giving back to the community in Birmingham, and they totally did it. They had 250 kids come out. In our last show, somebody had mentioned that they were there with their son, which is a great thing. They were on Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, you got Jeff Fisher of the Michigan Panthers and Bart Andrus, which is wrong. That was spelled wrong. The Philadelphia Stars, hosted by the Kids Clinic. And then on Sunday, you had the home team, Skip Holtz of the Birmingham Stallions and Todd Haley of the Tampa Bay Bandits, hosting on Sunday. Basically, he got a great reaction from the players. Afterwards, they all said they had a great time doing that. That's the type of grassroots thing these leagues need to do, to reach out to kids, get them all excited about their league. Any kid, even if it's a USFL player, fan control football player, just to meet a football player, they would be super excited. About guys getting paid to play football, they would absolutely get involved with the leagues. One of the things that Moose talked about was what's been happening to the game of football over the past 15 years because of the whole head injury thing. Trust me, I've not forgot about that. I do not jump up and down when players drill each other and knock each other out, which I'm like, that's just dumb. Just make the tackle and move on. You know, people are having long-term effects from some of this. But he said over the last 10 to 15 years, a lot of young boys that may have been, and he said maybe scared away from the game because of the health of football players in the future brings a lot of concern. They saw the numbers starting to impact the country. He said in big football states like Florida, Texas, California, Alabama, where high school football is huge, they actually saw numbers considerably drop in participation. So he figured it was a great chance for them to get out there and meet with the parents, talk about them, engage, answer any questions they have. So I think it's a good thing. He talked about the importance of the USFL's overtime rule. Now, his take, of course, was that you shouldn't be in overtime in the first place. Yeah, I get that. But he said they've got this English Premier shootout back and forth for 2 points. He thinks this will be a good thing. He loves the 4th and 12 play to try to get that onside kick thing going on that they've talked about in the rule book, and the 3-point extra play. So this definitely will be very interesting to see how the season goes, how this will kind of play out. The other thing he said, which is something that the XFL teams started doing toward just before the league shut its doors, is that teams are going to go for 3 a lot. So remember, you could do a passing play. So you could kick a field goal, go for 2, or go for 3 on a passing play. So you can go for 2 on a play, scrimmage play, or you can go for 3 on a scrimmage play. I think in the XFL world, a lot of them started to just go for the 3-point play. And he was saying guys like Todd Haley will be very aggressive, and he thinks that they'll just go for that the whole time. They also talked about Dallas Cowboy stuff and some other things with the USFL. But always, Moose Johnson is always a great guy to hear on an interview. He'll just tell you what he thinks and kind of give you some interesting tidbits. I thought the most interesting thing from this interview was that teams would be going for 3 a lot more than we think, which changes really the dynamic of football. And also that the youth clinic was successful. 250 kids is a lot, and it was a good success and a good community building thing for the USFL. So with the season right around the corner, fans want to play fantasy football. Good thing we have News Hub Fantasy and our first season of it. Don't get mad if it doesn't work perfectly like ESPN or Yahoo, but we're trying to feed that appetite for fantasy football. So the fantasy diehards want to play fantasy football, but now we got you covered. Remember, the News Hub Fantasy is the website. It is currently in alpha with many changes, additions planned for the future. So the alpha version, USFL News Hub Fantasy Football League, must have 8 controlled teams only, each consisting of 10 roster spots. There are 7 active: QB, running back, 2 wide receivers, a flex, tight end, and kicker, and 3 bench spots. You could not go 12-round fantasy draft because there's just not enough players. Keeping it at 8, keeping everything for this first season, but then things could change in the future. You can set up, you can do head-to-head or points only. You can have a live. I have to turn off the live auction. We're not going to do that. Auto pick, offline drafts, we can do that too. Got a lot of, if you have questions, just go to newshubfantasy.com/help. Now, here's his top projected players for the draft. Let me know what you think in the comments. For the top 5 projected fantasy players at each position, he's got quarterback, number 1, Jordan Ta'amu. Been hearing across the board that a lot of people think he is the best. Kyle Slaughter at number 2. Brian Scott at number 3. I really like Brian Scott and the Philadelphia Stars. That's my early season pick, but I think Tampa will do good. Shea Patterson, Michigan Panthers, and Alex Magoo from the Birmingham Stallions. That's his top 5. Of course, Ta'amu is a fan favorite with the Battlehawks. Slaughter is above average athlete who will be another USFL's top dual threat. He shifted from wide receiver to tight end to quarterback in college and caught the attention of many NFL scouts at throwing at Colorado's Pro Day in 2017. He spent time with the Vikings, Cardinals, Bears, Lions, and Raiders. He did well in his preseason performance in 12 NFL preseason games, completed 111 of 150 passes, 75% completion, 1,222 yards, 8 per yard attempt, 11 touchdowns and 1 interception. Brian Scott is a little best known, but many will like him as one of the league's top quarterback options. Once labeled the Aaron Rodgers of Division III, recently been a 2-time MVP of the Spring League, also winning the Spring League's championship. He reunites with head coach from the Spring League, Bart Andrus, who's now running the show at the Philadelphia Stars. That's why I think they have a thing going on there. I think they'll be well. Running backs, Devon Smith, Pittsburgh Maulers, Darnell Holland, Philadelphia Stars, Mike Weber, New Jersey Generals, Steve Scott III, Michigan Panthers, and C.J. Marvell of the Birmingham Stallions, running out his top running backs. Devon Smith should be a familiar name. It's spring football fans. He spent time with the Alliance of the Apollos, Tampa Bay Vipers, where I remember him. While with the Apollos, Smith served as a backup to now Cleveland Browns running back Dearness Johnson. Remember his big run this past year, did pretty well to fill in. While his rushing numbers behind Johnson were nothing special, he did find the end zone 6 times. Smith got his chance to start with the Tampa Bay Vipers, made the most. Smith led the XFL in rushing yards, 365 on 90 carries. Told you know what happened. Smith will be running behind one of the USFL's best offensive line and has a head coach in Kirby Wilson, who's had a hand in the career of some of the NFL's best running backs. Darnell Holland is an explosive, versatile player for the Philadelphia Stars, who reunites with his Spring League coach, Bart Andrus. In college, Holland dominated the football college FCS level, appearing in 49 games at Kennesaw State, taking 240 free rushing attempts, 2,431 yards, 26 touchdowns. In 2018, he played 3 games, recorded PFF data, and earned an overall grade of 86.2. At wide receiver, Eli Rogers, who I thought might have been a little too old for this league, but apparently not. Tampa Bay Bandits, Sean Poindexter, New Orleans Breakers, Cavante Turpin, New Jersey Generals, Quincy Abadeju, Michigan Panthers, and Devin Gray, Philadelphia Stars. Of course, Eli played at Louisville, most NFL experience out of the USFL wide receivers, spent 4 seasons with the Steelers. He reunites reunites with former Steelers offensive coordinator and now Tampa Bay Bandits coach Todd Haley. While with the Steelers, he appeared in 30 games, totaling 78 receptions, 822 yards, 4 TDs. Also spent time with the DC Defenders before you know what happened there. Sean Poindexter played college ball at Arizona for 3 seasons before getting a shot with the NFL's 49ers. Appeared in 35 games, 25 starts with the Wildcats and hauled 67 receptions, 1,135 yards, 12 touchdowns. He was signed by the 49ers as undrafted following the 2019 NFL draft, but suffered a torn ACL in training camp that derailed his chances of making the team as a rookie. He was added to the practice squad in 2020, but was never called up to the active roster. Tight ends, Bug Howard, Philadelphia, Chiney O'Grady, Bandits, Carrie Angele, Birmingham Stallions, Brandon Barnes, Houston Gamblers, and Sal Canella, Houston Breakers. Bug Howard is a receiver converted to tight end out of North Carolina who's bounced around a few NFL practice squads after the 2017 NFL draft. Spent time with the Atlanta Legends of the AAF in the Spring League in 2020 in 8 games with the Legends, totaling 17 receptions, 220 yards. Additionally, out of the 13 tight ends targeted at least 10 times in the AAF, Howard was ranked 5th in the targets, tied for 3rd in receptions and 3rd in receiving yards, according to Pro Football Focus. Chiney O'Grady spent the final 2 years of his college career at Arkansas, where he hauled in 63 receptions for 772 yards, 9 touchdowns over the course of 15 games. Of course, unfortunately, off-the-field issues hurt his draft stock. O'Grady would not be drafted in 2021 NFL draft. Shortly after the draft, O'Grady was signed by the Bengals as an undrafted free agent, but was released in August. Kickers, lots of notable kickers here. Austin McGinnis, the Nolans Breakers, Tyler Rausa, Bandits, Matt Mengel, Philadelphia Stars, Nick Vogel, Houston Gamblers, and Brandon Aubrey of the Birmingham Stallions. Of course, Austin McGinnis experienced in the AAF, Memphis Express, Dallas Renegades of the XFL, and the Rams most recently. In college, he appeared in 47 games, played for the Kentucky Wildcats, making 72 of 91 field goals, with the longest from 54 yards. The longest field goal of his professional career with the AAF, when he nailed a 51-yard. Tyler Russo played 4 years of Boise State Broncos before joining the DC Defenders. Appeared in 27 games with the Broncos, 34 of 43 field goal attempts with the longest 51. Longest field goal of his career was 54 yards with the DC Defenders. So what do you think of Matt Lyons' list? Do you agree with the preseason rankings? You've got a quarterback, Tamu, Slaughter, Scott, Patterson, Magoo. Running back, Smith, Holland, Weber, Scott III, and Marbo. Wide receivers, Rogers, Poindexters, Turpin, Amendejo, and Gray. Tight ends, Howard, O'Grady, Angeline, Barnes, and Canella. And then kickers, McGinnis, Rausa, Mengel, Vogel, and Aubrey. What are your takes? Do you think Matt Lyons has it correct when it comes to some USFL fantasy football? Let us know in the comments. And we'll be back with more of your stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my friends.
Big show coming up this week on the Markcast. All of your alt football news, USFL, CFL, Fan Control Football even, on a very decidedly pro USFL podcast. We are a pro USFL podcast this week. Lots of stuff to break down. The USFL has released their rule book. We have players arriving in Birmingham for training camps, and there is more legal opposition against the USFL. They just won't leave the USFL alone. They're just kicking them when they're down. We're going to break down all of that stuff. Lots of intrigue and excitement. Excited to talk about all of that stuff. Big guest list this week. We have friend of the show, your friend and mine, Farhan Lalji, coming on. CFL insider from TSN. We are talking USFL. What effects will that have on the CFL? We are also saving the CFL game. Are we moving to 4 downs? Are we moving to 5 downs? We get all of Farhan's thoughts.
Well, you know, it's part of a process the league is going through right now called product review, right? Ultimately, I think when you have something like a lost season due to COVID, and in some other sports, it might be a lockout, right? I mean, the NHL went through this, Major League Baseball has gone through this, that when you lose seasons or an epic period of time, you want to come out of it slightly different, right? To give fans something else to talk about besides what was lost. And, you know, there's been a 5-year downward trend in scoring in the CFL. And last year, the games just weren't entertaining relative to what we're used to seeing.
And then Andrew Murray from CFL and XFL News Hub is coming on the show. We're breaking down and dissecting all of the United States Football League news this week, the USFL rule book, the players arriving in Birmingham, the new lawsuit opposition, everything about that.
I'm sure you have seen, Reed, obviously all of these camps and the spring league circles seem to become divided and sort of huddled in their own areas. There's not really not always a lot of crossover as far as people who are interested in these leagues or want to support these leagues all the time.
And then courtesy of the Montreal Alouettes, we have CFL All-Star running back William Stanback coming on the show. William is training in Georgia. He is preparing for the season, and we are very excited to have him on.
Me speaking from the offensive side of the ball, I'm with my brothers again, and we ready to ride, we ready to rock. Anybody that's in our way, we just gonna have to stomp all over them.
All right, my friends, we are back. What's up in the chat room? Where did that go? Chat room. Greg says it's going to be broadcast on Fox, NBC, and Peacock, talking about when the USFL returns on April 16th. It's going to be, there are so many people that don't know that this league is going to happen. And then it's just going to be boom, right on television. People are going to be like, wait, what? What's going on? And then it's just going to be craziness on that day, because if you're going to have games on Fox and NBC at the same time, people are going to be like, wait, what is this? And I think that's how they have it planned. I really do. I think that's how, it's just kind of this kind of slow build, social media stuff, and things are just going to kick in. They know exactly what happened when they did this with the XFL, and this is going to happen again. That's why, again, incubator league, they're not coming out the gate like the AAF and the XFL did. This is on purpose. This is planned. Whether or not is a good idea or not, that's to be determined for there. But we wanted to talk a little, what's up with the screen here? Oh, let's do that. That fixes that. Let's talk some fantasy football, shall we, my friends? Everybody wants to talk fantasy, so we've got that for you right here. There we go. Is this right? There we go. News Hub Fantasy. So if you want to play fantasy football, head over to News Hub Fantasy. There are leagues forming now. We just went through this past weekend testing the draft engine. It's okay. I think it'll be working. But anyway, so this is one of the dev teams that we just created. And so you can see how the draft went here. So this team got Zach Smith, Larry Rose, Jeff Badette, Jamon Moore, John Franklin III, Nick Truesdale, and Tyler Ryusa. Then you see here is all the other teams. They have Taiwan Taylor, DeQuan Hampton, and T.O. Redding as their wide receivers. This is kind of what it will look like after you draft. But this just kind of gives you an idea. The drafting engine is ready to rock and roll. If you want to join leagues, you just go to News Hub Fantasy. You click on the USFL, and you can join an open league. And you can also do your mock draft practice if you would like to, but you can join an open league. So there's 3 leagues here right now. So this league is looking for one more person to join that league. And then each league has 8 members in it. But there you have what News Hub Fantasy looks like so far. Remember, this is alpha stage. Alpha stage. I repeat, alpha stage. We are just trying to learn and kind of get through a USFL season. Then from the USFL season, make tweaks, make it better. Then have a better version for the CFL season when that rolls around in June. And then really to have everything ready to rock and roll for 2023 and come out the gate hot with, advertising and putting it all over there that, hey, try to play fantasy football in this system because we've, got it all worked out. So there's the fantasy football update, and you can go there, sign up right now. There is nothing holding you back there. Let's get to some social media stuff. First, let's get to the Twitter. Richard O for real. Talking about the forward passes from the USFL. We went over all that. Mike Mitchell had said another Schwartzstein concept barred from the XFL 2020. Richard said, I said the same thing. And the USFL couldn't come up with their own rules. Their one rules. They got rules from the AAF, XFL, Fan Control Football, and NFL. Well, yeah, but what they're trying to do is pick all the best ones. And technically, the XFL never finished a season, so they never got to do their rules. So That's why. I mean, I'm not surprised, but they did some little tweaks of their own. And trust me when I tell you, trust me, the XFL is going to be watching their rules too as well. Talking about the USFL can go for 1, 2, or 3 points after a touchdown. I'm excited to see that. At Vongo Burst, he says they technically just changed the 1-point conversion, but other than that, it's spot on. Like that as well. And Mike Mitchell, someone who was asking about the, someone please share the symbolism behind the helmet logo. I dig it, talking about the Generals. That's Mike Mitchell's team. He says it's a 5-star general wreath. It's extremely rare and a high honor. General of the Army is a military rank used to denote a senior military leader, usually a general and commander of the nation's army. The rank is higher than that of just a regular general. The logo is very cool. And then at Hound Talent says it's cool. And now you have me down the USFL Army history rabbit hole. The history of this rank is fascinating and definitely worth honoring on the helmet. Thanks for the info, Mike. As always, Mike Mitchell, always on top of things for the USFL, XFL, CFL community. As always, on to our YouTubers. Thanks in for leaving a message on the show. As always, Greg says, you are wrong about OG USFL fans like myself. I love the fact that the league is starting and there's a lot of OG fans like myself that are excited. Good, Greg. I'm glad. I've been hearing kind of mixed things, the old school. I mean, especially like CFL fans or XFL fans are hating on the USFL a little bit. But I'm glad to see that the OG USFL fans are back and excited about this league. Listen, it's the whole thing about, the inaugural season and this and that. That's all legal junk. We know what the deal is. Everybody knows it. That this is the old, hopefully once this legal thing gets over with, the league can actually move forward and actually then embrace the old league. Because it could be like, hey, listen, it was already proven in the courts that we're the owners, and we can now go back and in season 2 kind of incorporate the league a little bit better. The history of the league, that would be a good thing. And they should do that. Yabba Dabba Doo says, I'm an OG USFL fan on Pump Go Stars, your 2-time USFL championship. And that's the thing. When this league kicks off and whoever the champion is, they're not going to say, hey, this is the reigning, 2-time champion or whatever. They're ignoring the old plays book, which is a shame. I think they should. It would help them in the long run, but at least they're just trying to get through this one season. That's what they're just trying to do. All right, let's go to a phone call, shall we?
Hi, I was just wanting to ask, is 8 people the max amount of players that you can have in your fantasy league on newshubfantasy.com? Also, I see Cavante Turpin is not listed in the pre-draft for wide receivers. I don't see his name listed, and I know he was selected in like the 13th round of the USFL draft by the New Jersey Generals. So I just wanted to let you know, I don't know if you're missing some player names on your fantasy league engine. I just wanted to help you guys out, make it better for the future. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate the phone call. And yeah, so we are, am I getting double thing there? Yeah, so we do have, so all the league, because this is the first season of it, trying to keep it simple. And actually, I probably shouldn't have gone head to head. I should have just done points and just did static points. It is what it is. We'll move forward, do it that way. So there's only 8 team, only thing, because if you have 7 guys, if you have 6 guys, if you have 4 guys, it's just the complexity level just kind of goes crazy. We're just like the USFL. We want to get through the first season. If you're seeing just help, I think it's help support at News Hub Fantasy. You see a player missing, let us know. We went through and uploaded all of the players that were drafted, whether it was the draft on the 10th or the supplemental draft or which vice versa, whatever happened, the other, we got them all in there, and they're all in the database. Some guys might have been missed. If they're missed, who knows if it didn't upload correctly or whatever. We will make sure we put them in there. Just shoot us an email and let us know the names and team and position of the player that you think is missing, and we'll add them to the system, and they'll show right up for everybody's draft and everybody's mock drafts, et cetera, et cetera. They'll be in there. So if you want to do that, just Just let us know. We're not going to get it perfect, but what I want to do is if this stuff starts making money, then I could bring on people to help and pay people a little pizza money to write some code so that I don't do it in my off hours while I'm trying to do a full-time job and have a family of 6 kids and a wife and a dog and et cetera, et cetera. And running XFL News Hub, CFL News Hub, USFL News Hub, Dogecoin News Hub. Those are the main ones. So I'm a busy guy and I'm trying to do this on the side. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Same guy, another call, some more questions about fantasy football. News Hub Fantasy. Remember, go check it out.
Hi, I was on newshubfantasy.com and I created a few leagues. I didn't get enough people, so I wanted to remove the leagues, but I don't see where I can do that. Can you help me out with that? And also, when I wanted to join an open league, we had I seen there was 10 or more open leagues available, and then suddenly it went to 3. So I'm wondering what happened. And then also the ones that I created aren't listed on that open leagues area. Can you tell me what happened with that? Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. So the question is, so you can leave, if you create a league, you can't leave it because you created the league. In the settings, if you go to the help section, you can leave a league. So if you signed up for a league, you can leave a league. There was a bunch of leagues on there. The problem is that we added, because fans were asking for it, hey, we want to be able to have this league private. I don't want just some rando guys joining my league and I want to kick them out. So we switched them to private and then you can go there. So if you can't see your league on the join list, then you need to make it public or send the link to the friends that you want to sign up. They can sign up, or if they're already in the system, you can add their email. Remember, so if you look on the web, the bottom right corner, actually we can probably just bring it up. It'd be easier to explain, wouldn't it? Let's see here. So at the bottom right corner, you have settings right here. So you go into settings, click on settings, and then it's got, because this already had the draft. As long as you don't have the draft, you can leave a league. So there's a button in here that says you can leave the league and if you want. And that's where you can change your name or whatever you want to do right there. So there's all sorts of information. If you go to help, how can I edit? How do I leave? How do I add members? How many players in a league? How does the draft work? Waiver wire, trades, and you can contact support. So that's all right here. Just go to the help and that will answer a lot of your questions. And if any fans have other questions, we'll add them to the help as we keep moving along. Remember, this is the alpha version. This is going to be buggy. I don't even know how it's going to go. Hopefully it will go well. Then this will kind of work out the kinks for the CFL season. The CFL season is long. There's a lot of other variables for the CFL season. We're going to do the same thing, 8 teams, a certain amount of players. The problem is with the CFL is there's bye weeks. And then what do you do about quarterbacks? And so there's a whole other system that's going to have to be worked just to even get through the CFL season. But we'll have CFL as well. And again, in the future, the ultimate goal is to have like a super league where you play XFL, USFL, CFL the whole year round, and then you have the crown like the master champion of that league, which I think would be a lot of fun. And then we can have like, different kinds of, keeper leagues and dynasty leagues. We can do all sorts of fun stuff as the site grows and as we kind of work out the kinks. But that's News Hub Fantasy right there for you. All right, my friends. So enjoy that. And let's see here. And that is it for everybody else. Again, thanks for checking out the show. Lots more news coming as this USFL Tramp goes underway. We basically got everything we need. We have the rules. We have the training camp is underway. Again, I think when we are just 19 days away from kickoff, which is going to be huge. I mean, next time we do the show next week, it's going to be April, which means that we're really close to kickoff. And I think the interest is going to skyrocket once that happens. So remember, if you want to be part of the show and get in on the ground floor before all the other fans start coming, Podcast the USFL News Hub with your thoughts, or record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. 888-430-7692, extension 3. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We're on Stitcher, Audible, everything on podcasts. You get it everywhere. Watch us live, 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Finally got the Facebook working, and we are 19 days away, my friends. And remember, as always, if you want to have some fun, sign up for News Hub Fantasy and play some fantasy football. You can see all the different leagues here, and it's a lot of fun. And just being part of that tester group and really help us work the kinks out, my friends. All right, remember to like and smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. Let's try to get up to, what did we say here? We wanted to get up to 25 likes. 30 likes. We're 19 days away. 30 likes. Let's grow this channel, because what's going to happen is fans are going to come roaring in looking for all sorts of USFL news, and we want this to be the spot. So make sure you give us a like, subscribe to this channel. We're going to have game picks, DFS, fantasy football rankings, all sorts of fun stuff to go along with the league's game picks, interviews with players, and so much more. Lots of stuff planned for this channel as we get closer to kickoff, my friends. All right. Thanks for being part of the show. Thanks for watching on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to all of our social media channels. Appreciate you guys hanging out. God bless. Stay safe out there, my friends. Enjoy this week. Enjoy the Final Four, because we're just getting closer and closer to the USFL kickoff. All right. That's it for me, folks. God bless. And I will see you all later.